welcome to Faith and Flavor. I hope you're having a great day. Um, we're gonna go ahead and start food again this time early because again, don't really know how long it's gonna take to cool off. We're discussing whether it's gonna pull off the paper easy enough. So we learn with you, and if it's a flop, it's a flop. We might make that into a message. We definitely need to pray over it. So, but all I've really done is just take a little bit of packaged cheese. And so this has to be pretty keto friendly, I'm pretty sure, because there's no real carbs to speak of, right? So there's literally one carb in a fourth of a cup. So not even a carb in that. I don't know how much is in salami, but I doubt very much. And then I'm fancy like this. So on two of them, just because I really wasn't sure, I wanted to put some of my banana peppers on it because I love banana peppers. So basically, I've just kind of made a little stack of cheese and put some on this one. I put some of the banana peppers and the pepperoni. So we'll do that again here. I'm just taking out and throwing in a few peppers and then just setting a little piece of pepperoni on it. How hard can that be, right? So actually, it's salami, and it's called hard salami, so I guess it could be a little hard. Okay, yeah.
400, right?
Yeah, we'll hope that that's correct.
And the hope is to make this kind of a crispy type of cheese. So.
Yes. So today I want to talk to you guys about gratitude as a posture. So we know that we're coming up on the holidays, and when I say holidays, it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that, right? But I think that a lot of us get really, really busy into the holidays. I know I do a lot. And it's a busy time. It's a busy time at my salon. A lot of people are stressed, so more people come in for massages. A lot of people want their nails done because I do nails and massage, and so a lot of people want their nails done, and they want it done for their special days and occasions, right?
And they expect you to fit them in exactly when they want, right?
This is true. But the good thing is I'm thankful about it, and most of the time I don't mind because I can get them in there.
True.
But workaholic is not necessarily always a bad thing. But I started thinking about the hustle and bustle of the holidays, and starting about now, everybody's starting to come in and say, "Can you believe it's almost the holidays?" And they almost say it with like a dread. And honestly and truly, if a holiday has to be a dread, we're going about it wrong.
Absolutely.
Right? So my message isn't even on the holidays, so that's just a free little throw in there, right? If it's that stressful, we need really, truthfully, and I preach this to myself, we need to back up and understand that we're really missing the whole total point of Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
So I want to talk about coming from the posture of being thankful, because I think that most people think it's an event
Instead of
a posture and emotion, that we should really walk from gratitude in its entirety, right? So I know most people are saying, but what about when I'm going through? Let's take that as an example, because I think that that's what most people would, but life is hard, that's true. Sometimes we make life hard, and sometimes hard circumstances just come with life.
True.
But if you weren't alive, you couldn't experience good either. So if we're alive, we're experiencing sometimes bad and sometimes good. Hopefully, we're experiencing most times good. But when Thanksgiving comes around, people look at it from, oh, let's sit here around the table. We're going to get our family together. We're going to say some prayers, and let's be thankful today. And then I hear a lot, because I work with a lot of women, and they're like, well, they do 30 days of thankfulness. Well, I like 30 days of thankfulness. I'm not taking away from that.
Right.
But why don't we have 365 days of thankfulness? And on the days that we might not can muster up a thankfulness because we're in such a struggle, maybe the other 360 or 240 or whatever, amount of days that have come that year and into that point has helped us to understand that today or this situation is literally just a part of being alive. And being alive is what we're thankful for.
And not to negate anybody else's feelings or emotions, but also too, if you always try to think at least one gratitude a day, the fact that you woke up, the fact that you can see or hear, you have a roof over your head. I mean, people think those are just so like, okay, whatever, but those are huge, right? They're
Yes.
huge. The fact that you can help somebody, there's always something to be thankful for and to have gratitude over. But when we get in the busyness of the holiday and forget the thankfulness part of it, and we just remember the busyness, then you kind of defeating the true meaning of the holidays to be thankful.
Right. Well, and I think that in our society, we're so driven by um, prepping food and all about the food um, that honestly and truly, family come over to eat food. But we get, and I do because I cook a lot before the holidays, right? Especially desserts. I'm pretty much the dessert maker that brings the desserts. And several people will bring a couple of, they'll bring some things and we get it. But I just have loved cooking and baking. So I've always been one that will bring, we have a huge family. So when I say I bring 7 or 8 or 9, I can spend and have spent 24 hours straight, literally not even sleeping.
That's where the two of us are so different. My oven never gets turned off.
But maybe
there's blessings of you.
maybe you can
You
hang
work
out
hard for me.
and I'll put you to work
There you go.
making desserts for the holidays.
I do have an oven if you need it.
I might. But if we tend to get so busy that we really aren't thankful. Like some places may not even have the ability to bake. Like you said, your oven, you've got an oven that doesn't get turned on. Well, let's think about that. What about people in other places of the world who don't even have an oven, who don't have sugar, and they might have some eggs, but they may not have the flour and everything that they need. And we set a big, bountiful blessing, and they're grateful for their few little fruits that they might have gotten off of a tree, something, their chicken, their eggs that they might have, whatever they have in their positions, right? But here we are, we're spreading out. Now, when we get together, we pray every time as a family. We should be praying over our food all the time, quite honestly. But even, especially when we're getting with amongst the family, when everything's done and everybody's there, we might check that. I stop and think, I can breathe. And we've got to a place and a position where, oh yeah, they look good. Well, we're going to let them cool down a little bit while we're talking, and hopefully they will be yummy. I'm going to take them off the hot pan, and I'm going to set them here. Yes, thank you. And we're going to let these cool, and we're going to say some prayers that they come out really yummy. But I'm going to check it here. Ooh, yeah. So one of the things that I've seen them do is just kind of take it and roll it up too. So I'm going to roll up one just to see how it fares. But if we come from the position of not just stopping like, okay, everything's done, we're stopped, and everybody stops and we take a breath and we start to pray. And in that moment, I can say this as my experience, we stop and then we begin to remember the loved ones that are not there. And we say, I know that it's on the heart of most people when the matriarch of the family, or as my dad being the matriarch of the family, or would be patriarch of the family, when the patriarch of the family is not there, you definitely feel a loss. And so I can say is my experience that it kind of grabs me a little bit. And I'm not in the place that like, okay, I'm so thankful that my dad's in heaven. I don't think that. I begin to miss him.
Right.
But this year, I want to begin to say, I miss him. I do. But I'm thankful that my dad is in heaven. I'm thankful for the legacy that he left me. I'm thankful that what I do know and have learned, I've learned because I was so blessed to have a father who raised me in church and raised me and taught me things in my life.
And I think the biggest thing too for you is the legacy. It's not the materialistic or the financial things that are left, but that he gave you a legacy to go on and fill his shoes and to bring more people to Christ, to minister, to be there. For me, my father was the same. Unfortunately, our family as an entire whole kind of fell apart when he passed away. Now, me and my other two sisters were very, very close, but that's a small part of the family. Where it looks, from what I see in church or anything, your family stayed together as a unit, and that's a huge blessing. The fact that you can go on and minister to others, and somebody says, I know you're a child of God, or follow in your earthly father's footsteps because of what he did for you.
For sure, I can say that in my life, I know a lot of times, especially in upcoming generations, and and I'm not throwing off on the upcoming generations because I think that we have a youth, great youth coming up. The other day, we were going into a, a restaurant, and I went to grab the door, and I really don't know if it's like, oh, let me help this little old lady, or or what, but this tall gentleman was, and I'm not one to bring like racial lines, but the fact is he was this tall, black, handsome black guy, and he was just so sweet. And me being an older white female, I was so impressed with his ethnic, um, um, uh, or his, what do you call it? Not his ethnic, his um, that not
Like moral compass?
moral, yeah. How he was so sweet and said, "Oh," and I listen. I literally had just grabbed to the door, and people give race and age such a bad name when it's totally just draws division because in a lot of cases it's not true. You have good and bad on on all sides. You have sweet and terrible on on all of them, and old and young. You've got terrible old people. You've got terrible young people. You've got great old people. Great. So if we got mixed up into that, we would literally begin to lose what we should be grateful for. And that day, that guy just said, "Oh, ma'am, let me get that." And he ran up to the door to be able to open the door. And he was like, the way he talked to the people that were with him, he just was constantly just, you could tell it wasn't an act in that moment because it was that way all the way. Well, I had dropped my cell phone while I was ordering. And when I reached down to pick it up, he said, "Oh, no, ma'am, let me get that for you." And he reached down and picked it up. And we went about, and, I said to my husband, I was like, man, what a refreshing um, person. Like, if I had lots of money, and I had a business where I could put him in position. And I told my husband, I said, I would have sat there, I would have walked up to his table and said, "Hey, let me talk to you for a minute. And I did tell him, I said, sir, I just want you to know that you are refreshing. And I really appreciate your kindness today and being very open to open my door. And I really did compliment him because he said, "Oh, ma'am, it's no problem."
But
And
the
I
fact
thought,
that you acknowledged, I think, probably weighed on him in such a positive, blessing way because we forget to tell people, hey, we appreciate. I after I left the hospital, I called back and I said, is there a line, like voicemail, something that I can leave a message? And the lady from higher up called me back and she said, you have no idea what it meant for you to tell me how great my people were because they took extraordinary care of me. And just to acknowledge other people because if God created us all equal, it doesn't matter what we look like on the outside. It is truly what's in our heart on the inside. You can tell from that gentleman that was, I mean, for him to perceive that you could use help way back and not just an afterthought. It's huge, and to acknowledge that to other people, it just makes us better. It makes them
want to do it more,
yeah,
probably. I know that when, not that we need accolades for what we do, but when we know what we're doing is being effective for somebody else, it does drive us to want to be more effective
right.
to other people around us, and it's contagious. A smile is contagious. Let me tell you, if you hear a baby laughing, what do? You start giggling and laughing with the baby because smiles are contagious. Confidence is contagious. And in most cases, now some people will be like, oh, that's too much confidence. But it is contagious. And you know what? So is thankfulness and so is worship. And they are contagious. If we allow ourselves to be overflowing, the overflow has to go somewhere. But yeah, I sit back and I look at some of the things that have happened in our life that we should be said. I mean, I could list them and list them and list them and list them. I'm not going to take the time to do it. But if we understand that being thankful is a position and a posture and not just an event, it will begin to flow.
Absolutely.
And things. And listen, as things flow from us, we also attract. And if we begin to overflow thankfulness, we're going to attract goodness. I believe that. Here are a couple of points that I've written, and then we'll elaborate a little bit more and let you say if you've got something else to add. But I've got Thanksgiving is once a year, but the posture of Thanksgiving can turn every day into worship. Gratitude realigns our perspective. It reminds us that the heart of what's still good, even when life isn't easy. And so Thanksgiving doesn't just count blessings, it becomes a blessing. Gratitude isn't a guest at the table, it is the table that we live from. And so I hope that you guys take those things to heart because it's true. If we live from the table of Thanksgiving, that's what's going to be served at the table. It's things that are going to pull in that we would be thankful for.
Right.
Anything you want to
Yeah,
add?
it's also too, if you think about it, the old cliche, "Oh God is born," or "Thank God I get another morning." It's so true because when we first get up, we can start our day that way. I mean, sometimes it's going to be challenging. Absolutely. I mean, people go through so much, and like you said, you could have a table of plenty, and you could have a table of one or two things. But if we each use our gifts, because when you were talking about that, like the oven, I thought, you know what, that is so interesting because I don't say I can't cook. I just choose not to. And trust me, my husband will tell you I choose not to. But it's kind of one of the things too where you really could, like, okay, I've got canned goods I can offer to give to somebody. I can offer my oven if there was an abundance, wash machine and dryer somebody that needs it. When we were helping one lady a while ago, she was supposed to be home, and I'm like, "Where are you?" And she said, "I'm at the laundromat. My washing machine broke." Well, we went there. I had no idea how many quarters it takes to wash and dry clothes now, and I just thought, that's something that each of us, whether it's something just a small thing or huge, we all have something to give. And if we think about that and think about our blessings and be a blessing upon somebody else instead of, looking at something negative and like I said, I'm preaching to the choir here. But to really think, what do I have to offer? What can I do to say somebody goes, she is a Christian. She does practice what she preaches. She does walk that walk.
Right.
And we would be we would be so much blessed because we usually get so much more. It's like the hospice chaplain told me, it is 90% showing up. You may not do a thing that day,
That's right.
but you showed up.
That's right.
And I always say, a lot of times I go, oh man, I just want to be lazy, stay home. That's your biggest blessing when you get someplace and you do something. God's like, see, here I am. Now you show up too.
That's right. That's right. Good points. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our podcast. I hope that the next several weeks in preparation that you take it to heart and that you just pause for moments even. If you can't do it, when you first get up, you should be able to. But if you can't, I get it. You're running late, getting ready, you go to work, whatever. But just take a moment throughout your day, many times, several times, and pause and just be thankful. I hope you have a great day on purpose.